Let's do
Let's
Beau
do
travail.
let's do if Terrence Malick did an Abercrombie and Fitch ad.
Oh, nice.
There are
If
some
the last
incredibly
movie-
sexy men. in this.
Again, I'll let you guys go, and then I'll talk at the end. Go
If
ahead.
the last movie had too much talking,
This movie has no talking.
it didn't have enough talking.
Oh, Jesus Christ, you people.
No, here's the thing. I like that. I've been thinking about this movie a lot ever since I saw it. Like, I'm watching going, what the fuck is happening? But it's so gloriously odd. It is also gorgeously shot. The colors of this thing are.
This is one of the best looking movies I've ever seen.
I watched an interview with the cinematographer, Agnes Godard, and they never saw dailies because it was like a 4-hour round trip to
Well, in
get back
Djibouti,
to-
there's no place there's no screening rooms out there.
Yeah, shot on
So they
location.
just shot it, and the lab would say, "Yeah, it looks okay."
Yeah.
Nice.
Don't worry, just keep shooting. You're good. Just make sure that
Here's-
the
I'm
meters
gonna
out
ask
there. You know?
Jim. I'm going to ask Jim because I'm sure he's read it and seen all versions. My knowledge of Billy Budd, which was non-existent going into this, would it have helped?
Billy Budd Melville is not somebody I've read. So,
Okay.
Red Billy Budd. It's actually it's kind of a spoiler for this film.
Is it?
Yeah.
So it's pretty close.
Knowing how the plot of Billy Budd goes, and so
Does
watching
Billy
this.
Budd end with this?
No, it does not end with that in any
But
way.
also,
There's a
no,
lot of
but there's
differences.
different. There's
Really, honestly, this ending is so.
It should have.
Fucking
And also,
nuts.
this is a
Every movie should end with this.
This
ending
was also
would be
I
okay,
saw back
this
and
is
forth.
cool.
I saw it back and forth on the homoerotic part of the whole thing. I can't tell if it is or isn't.
Can't tell if it's what.
If it's homoerotic or not. This film.
Oh,
It's
fuck.
not.
I mean,
I
don't
can't
know.
tell because
This
people
movie is Scott. This movie is gayer than Stranger by the Lake.
It's
No.
like anti-war.
No.
movies.
I don't think
I
so.
don't know.
I
It's
don't
think
like,
so.
oh,
No, what it is it's a straight movie that's filmed in a gay perspective, and that's actually way more interesting.
Well, a woman made it.
and
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
straight woman.
you can see it's the kind of female gaze that you normally get, but directed at women, which
Right, I was just gonna say, like,
last year.
I
Okay, I take it
agree
back.
with
It's not-
agree
it's
with
not
Tad.
gay.
I
It's
agree with
just
Tad.
horny.
And
Your number
I was
one
gonna
movie last
say
year.
I don't ever want to hear about the male gaze ever again after seeing this again.
No,
Well,
but,
that's the thing. I'm
yeah,
making an argument
my
that
movie of the year last year,
Disorder.
Disorder.
Yeah.
All right.
Was very much a movie where it's a female perspective on attractive men, and like this is that too. Like
Yep.
it is that.
Make a
Yeah.
good double feature, actually.
Yeah. Well,
Actually,
they
there's
are
another
both
one I might
about-
do
they are
later
both
that
about
is a really good
what
double feature
happens
for this.
after you're in the French military.
Also,
But
I think
yeah,
this should have been renamed Legionnaires Doing Laundry. But anyway,
well, like the details
So
are
much
fun.
There's a lot of
laundry.
laundry in this movie.
I was going back to the question I'm asking.
Laundry and
I think there's a difference between like saying that the kind of triangle between the commander,
God,
the
that guy's so
Savar,
hot.
and the adjutant, the main character of the film, and the Gilles Santain, the kind of the cute guy in the middle of the whole thing that he doesn't like.
This guy.
There's two ways
that
of looking
guy,
at
that
it. One
really,
is
really hot
one is
guy.
as maybe like as a gay text, and I don't think it's a gay text. I think it's simply it's people who are in the military have these bonds that are a little bit deeper than that in some ways.
Yeah.
That the guy's loyalty to his commander was like it was informed him as a person. It
Well,
went
they
down
talk
really
about it-
deep, and any
It's talked
interruption.
about as a brotherhood.
Exactly. There's like a brotherhood, and things interrupting that brotherhood, something coming between him and his commander was felt at a deep level for him.
Scott, this is a movie about jealousy.
It's a movie about jealousy. But
Daddy
it's not,
doesn't
it's
love.
not,
Daddy
it's not
doesn't love
sexual
me.
jealousy. It's more like the basest, darkest, lowest jealousy.
If
you know?
Daddy doesn't love me, he loves my pretty little brother.
Exactly.
I mean, it's a very, very simple plot.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
I
going
just
to make sure he goes to the Salt Lake and almost dies.
Fuck.
One of the things I was going to come in with this film, and this is
saved by
kinda,
the kind Arab woman.
Yeah.
There.
I was going to spare the kind of glib put down, but nothing really happens in this film for the first 45 minutes, maybe longer.
But it kind of doesn't matter.
That doesn't
You
matter
just
because
like-
it's a
not
good
like
looking.
watching it.
I'm
You
not taking.
enjoy
I
seeing
said it. I'm
nothing
taking
happen.
it back. But the thing is, nothing really happens in this film. The first part, it's all set up. It just kind of, we're moving along, we're seeing scenes and we're setting everything up and we're seeing the routine here. And that's working in a way that's kind of unusual. You know what I mean?
But the main character is brooding
He's
throughout.
brooding, exactly.
From frame one, he is
It's actually,
brooding.
he's pulling the bow, he's pulling the string on the bow tighter and
Oh.
tighter during the first and second act. It's pretty crazy. So, but the thing is,
This is why I said there's not enough dialogue in it, because to me it wasn't quite enough. It was just like, oh, here's another shot of him staring off into the middle distance.
Yeah,
There's a lot of fucking shots of him just like sulking, you know? It's like, okay, I get it.
Yeah. And also, this. Go ahead.
I just thought there was a hallucinatory quality to the whole thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Again, like Terrence Malick does this kind of thing very, very well, and this movie reminded me a lot of Terrence Malick.
Yeah, it's contemplative.
Jim, you know what else it reminded me of?
It's better than anything Malick.
Oh, Signs of Life.
You betcha, man. And
I
I
was
was
thinking
like,
that would be a good double bill.
Yeah.
so I was so on board for so much of this, and I was like, it's almost excruciating to me how much of a near miss this movie is for me, because it is like, I was like, this is like Signs of Life, and I was super into it.
Big time.
And then it got to the end. They find him out in the salt, and he's not quite dead. Spoiler alert. And he's already been court-martialed and thrown out of the.
Not dead yet.
Yeah, I'm not dead yet. He's been court-martialed and thrown out of the
not quite dead yet.
The Legion. And I just want it. It's like, fucking just come, give it to me. Let me see some consequences. I wanted the other guy to show up and say, "You left me out in the desert with a broken compass."
No,
You want it. You want something to.
That's
fucking disco.
but that's the American in you.
God damn it, Jared.
Hollywood.
I'm an American and I have needs. I have needs, Jared.
More fucking Roger Corman movies. No, I actually
If
thought
I was your
I thought ending with this versus what John.
I don't know what you were gonna. I don't know what you just self-censored.
I thought ending with the thing behind me versus what John just described.
I was like, wait a minute. He probably always has that handled, but I would no. Sorry, Chris. Go, Chris.
We're having a moment.
Oh, I'll wait. Don't worry. Take your time.
This was so the opposite of what John just described that I actually thought it was a braver choice.
Yeah.
Like it was just, no, man, I'm gonna. However you think this is ending, I'm gonna go way over here.
I can't. I was like, fuck you. This is
off.
Chris. I literally was like, fuck this when this was the last shot in the movie.
I watched a conversation with the director.
Brought me back.
Hold on,
actually.
Jim.
I went back around.
Wait,
Hold on, Jim.
what?
I watched some of the accompanying stuff on Criterion Collection. A black American filmmaker interviewed Claire Denis, and she mentioned two things that I found really interesting. One was that originally the Legion, which was still in Djibouti at the time, was going to help her.
It's all true.
By giving all kinds of support for the production. And then they read the script and they said, nope, too gay.
Which is weird for French people.
Which is funny because when the film came out, then they loved it. It's like, oh, it's great.
It's actually a fairly good recruiting tool for us. So yeah,
It does glamorize it, doesn't it?
I mean,
I wish.
The other thing is that I've forgotten what the other thing.
Wait. The point I'm talking about earlier about
Jim, Fred would have liked this, right?
Oh, Fred would have loved this movie.
This would have been Fred's favorite movie of all time.
Drummer.
this film, yes.
It's one of the only movies I've ever seen where like the FAMAS actually looks cool. Like,
yeah, I was wondering about the FAMAS.
What is the FAMAS?
It's that.
It's the rifle behind Scott.
Oh yeah, that's weird. That's a weird looking gun, man.
It looks like something out of Alien.
Yeah.
It looks like a Lego version of an M16.
But it's the way they present it. It looks kind of cool.
Yeah,
but the French copy, no one copies in French.
The thing about this film, the first part, the part I said was kind of like nothing happens, is that you got to see a lot of scenery in Djibouti, and you films that concentrate, like this is a Malick film, concentrating on scenery and the bugs on leaves and rainfall. This place looks like fucking Mars, man.
Yeah.
It's blasted, it's empty, nothing grows, no green anything.
But I was saying,
they're marching along. You can see these vast lava fields going right there.
Yeah.
Oh, and
This
they have those.
scene.
They have those in the Big Island in Hawaii. If
Like,
you
I
walked
would not
out,
want
if
to fall down
you
on the
walk to
ground.
one of those
barracks
things, your
there
legs
is
be
a
cut up
free
to shreds in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Well,
This place is
you've got white
inhospitable, and it looks beautiful because the way it's
Salt
handled.
Lake.
Yeah.
you've got
Yeah.
white people in those incredibly black in the best way
Landscapes.
Yeah.
well, no, I mean the clubs and stuff like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Oh, in the
It's
club.
just
There's
Yeah.
weird little third
Yeah.
world clubs. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
It's so beautifully not white
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
time you look at where their society is, and then it's just like, oh cool, this asshole's here,
Mhm.
but also actually, oh cool, this asshole's here.
Yeah.
Like there's you have that moment of like, this guy is losing himself in this culture, and that's fucking rad.
Right.
Like,
Well, the culture was like everything felt a little bit nailed together, you know, kind of like the hell with baling wire and twine. It's a poor place. I mean, I'm guessing.
And also just huge and empty. I mean, he did go into the city. You
Just
saw the
it's
city,
fine.
but my God, the landscape.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And also the Frenchness, and you go into town, like the colonnades,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff like that. It was just
It's definitely a French
there's a
colony.
colony, and it was
It's
actually
extraordinarily
considering the
French.
Legion was there until, in fact, you know, until 2015. It was very much a colony.
No, they're back there.
Really, I
They've
thought
been
they moved to
there
somewhere. I
in
thought they moved to India or something like that.
2022.
No, I
Oh.
think they're paying. I think they're paying now.
Okay.
They-
Okay. Good enough.
Anyway, the other thing I wanted to mention was the scene of him wildly dancing was originally in the middle of the movie.
Aha.
And Claire decided that it's too depressing, him sitting down on the bed with the gun on his chest, you know, that he's
Yeah.
to shoot himself, right?
Yeah.
So they moved that scene to the end. So
Okay, but
Thank you. But
why
thank you
didn't we
so much.
get the confrontation?
yeah.
Why didn't we get that?
Because that's how life is.
You're actually reminding me why I
Oh.
really like the ending.
Oh no, Scott.
I'm sorry.
But
That's how
that's-
You're right, but
I know what you're saying, John. I empathize. I'd give you a hug if I could right now, but it's just like sometimes these things don't play out. They
Right.
just
Yeah, but Jim is reminding me why I really like the ending, because the previous scene is him with the gun in his chest in the bed. You're like, oh god, is this movie going to end with it blowing?
Because you know he's going to shoot himself. I mean, he
Blows his
But he's
brains out,
not.
credits roll.
nope,
No.
he's gonna go dancing.
no, his
he
dancing
fucking
around thing is
loses-
wasn't it a bit like Apocalypse Now, the beginning of Apocalypse Now? Remember in the hotel room?
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
him dancing around and punching
Exactly.
him.
Punching the
Yeah.
glass and the whole 9 yards.
But I mean, like, this guy is at the lowest of the low at that point, where he's sitting there in that room and in that empty
Oh,
room.
he's feeling immense guilt.
right.
Yes.
And what happens? Fuck it, let's dance.
Well,
Right.
Yeah, right.
it's not
Nothing.
chronologically
Well,
Well,
happening.
because he
I like
hasn't
it.
allowed
That's
himself to do
another
that.
flashback. It's the
before.
last
The dude has
flashback.
been.
in the movie.
The dude has.
Oh,
been
you think it's a
so-
flashback, Jim?
Yeah, because that takes place in the dance club in Djibouti.
True. That
Oh,
background.
and
is-
he's,
No,
and
he's
he's back in Paris, right?
Yeah,
yeah, mentally
Marseille.
he's in Djibouti though. That I recognize that
Whoa,
mirror with
is
the
it
lights.
same outfit,
Yeah.
though? Is he wearing the
I-
same outfit from earlier in the movie?
No, remember he wears a black outfit when he goes out into the night sometimes.
Bring
I
us
like
back
that.
now.
Jim,
I like
Jim,
that.
Jim, I had a completely different interpretation. I thought he went back to Djibouti as like a civilian. He just said, "Okay, I'm just."
what I
He's just
thought.
having another
Bring up the
flash.
background, Chris. Let's see. Take a look at it.
I
I like my interpretation better than Jim's.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
All right. Well, either
You're
way,
welcome.
What that tells me then is he's going to blow his brains out in that fucking room.
it was kind of a Twin Peaks ending. It's like,
I like the idea that, like, at your lowest point, fuck it, let's dance. I like that.
Yeah,
and this
I
is a
think that's-
flashback, and he's going to take himself out.
Well,
right.
he's thinking
whether
about it.
whether or not that's true,
Right.
I think you're not wrong.
Well, do you have a corner,
And-
Jim, or you think you kind of said what you need to say?
I said it.
All right. Well, that's Jim.
I was confused and confounded at times, but I like this movie.
this is my
I-
second Claire Denis movie.
Oh.
My first was High Life because I went to see it because it was science
Oh,
fiction.
I want to see that.
It was so much nonsense. It made me so angry. I was predisposed to hating this movie,
Oh, okay.
but I don't hate this movie.
I just wish I'd seen this in the big screen because of how gorgeous it is.
It's
Yeah.
amazing looking.
Yeah.
I really liked it. It was a good antidote.
Well, you want to see something you don't usually see. This is the
To
film.
the other one,
No, not the other one. I like the other one too. It just a lot of the films we've been watching recently have just sort of been,
In like Fight Club.
like
Wow.
no,
Lib.
No, successful and in English, yes.
Well made.
Of course, and there's a reason why they were successful.
I.e., maybe a little bit simple, a little bit stupid. No.
Like Steven Spielberg has his finger on the genitals of America. And that's what makes us happy. And that makes us cry.
That's quite the quote. I'm gonna write that
I
down.
wish Steven Spielberg had a.
I love it. I love it, Jim. See, I knew Jim would like these picks.
You've redeemed yourself, Jerry.
Only because
I don't hate you
yay.
anymore.
Jim's finally over funny games.
Oh, that's
well, no, when
You shouldn't be finally over funny games. That's
I'm not over it.
Okay.
but here's the thing. Here's the thing.
I
When
just decided
when Jim and I first met in your backyard, John, we talked about foreign film extensively, and we knew we were
Right
like,
here.
we're-
Right here.
Yeah, right there.
right there.
Yeah.
We knew we were like of the same ilk in that regard.
Yes.
And yes, you know, I'm like, oh, I like this movie. It's weird, but I always try, you know, my heart is always in, you know, foreign pictures for the most part. But yeah, I think this movie, I hear John like, oh God, there's no talking, nothing happens, you know, and it's true, but also that all of you have pointed out, like this is one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen visually,
Yeah.
that I've maybe ever seen in terms of cinematography, in terms of, but also there's a tone, there's a pace to it that is just so undeniably, you know,
It's all vibe.
captivating.
It's a lot of vibe.
Yeah, and
slow reveal. The whole film is a slow.
and we haven't talked a lot about, but the music itself is also so
Yeah.
great.
Yes.
Good use of music.
Yes, the music.
It's quite good.
There's that little bass thing that's happening in it that's just like it's mixed pretty low too, it seems.
Yeah.
But
And
it's
and
like insidious.
when the like look behind Chris, you know, like when those gorgeous moments are happening when they're doing like the weird like training exercises, that is actually a lot of that is from the opera that is based on the
Right,
novel.
Oh, the Benjamin Britten music. Yeah.
From Billy Budd, yes.
From Billy Budd, right?
Which sounds like 2001, if you ask me. It's
Little
like,
bit.
But it's so
Montana.
amazing. It's so fitting here for some
Yeah.
like Claire isn't, you know, she's a fucking smart person. She's a very talented, very smart person. She knows, she's done her research. She knows what she's doing. And I know that, like, yeah, even for me watching it again, I was like, oh, there's a lot of slow moments.
Well, you know
There's
what?
a lot of slow moments.
I was talking about the Billy Budd music that's done by Benjamin Britten that's in this
Yeah.
film that reminded me of 2001, and this reminds me of 2001 in another way in terms of being visuals and just you
Little
kind of flow
dialogue.
through it.
Yeah, there's not a lot of dialogue in 2001, right?
Exactly
I mean,
right.
not
Yeah.
much at all.
It plays the same narrative kind of structure as 2001.
Yeah.
And there is a, you know, and again, there is a celebration of the male figure. There's a celebration of,
Well, the part with the shorts they're digging this stuff, it's like that was a bit much.
Beefcake
But
for days.
yeah, it's like, yeah, well, the shirts that don't even, they're
Oh,
open on the
open
sides.
on the sides,
Like,
yeah.
you know, they
Yeah.
like there's something about, and again, like I hate when people say, like, there are definitely films and we know them where it's like exploitative of women, like the male gaze bullshit. It's like Russ Meyer shit, whatever. But like I didn't like when they called Blue is Orange Color like a male. I was like, fuck you, this is a piece of art. And I feel like this is the same thing where it's like, fuck you, this is a piece of art. Like no one accused Claire Denis of being like the female. I mean, that's not even,
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone
Which reminds me
says
when
there's a
people
female
accuse-
gaze, but
when people accuse
300
300 of being gay, I didn't agree with that at all. It's just not.
She does talk
well,
about
maybe Zack Snyder might be a closeted homosexual. I don't know, but no,
Oh,
but
let's not have that conversation at all.
We're not.
I mean, I don't know. If I would feel better if he was, to be honest. Anyway, no, but
You're gonna have your work cut out for you figuring out what the clip is because there's been like 5.
There's like 14
or
clips in this thing
6
already. I know.
Zack
things.
Snyder is gay. No, anyway,
No.
I argued the opposite, but keep going.
Are we yelling not
well,
the clip?
Sucker Punch is the fucking proof that
No,
he's gay.
no,
sorry.
no.
It's because it's so bad. Okay, anyway, no, but this film,
maybe
Chris said, the dance scene at the end, I think that's the whole, anytime you like it, it's
Plus
just
it's a flashback, and then it changes my whole perspective.
well, I didn't read it as a flashback either. I read it as whether it's a flashback or not, it's the end of this picture. And
It's the
that
tone of
is
the
what fucking matters.
The
That's what
rhythm of
matters.
the rhythm
But
of
the
the
whole
night,
picture
basically.
is flashbacks, right? It's
Yes, that's true. No, Jim is right. This whole fucking movie is him remembering
him
what
remembering when
happened.
he's fucking
So
Right.
timeline is almost irrelevant.
yeah.
Like what Claire is showing you is the movie.
Right.
So you have these beautiful, like the most gorgeous sequences of these men, sort of homoerotically wrestling. I know, but it's like insanely awesome. And then you have this guy like this guy. Also, that guy, the main guy, what's his name?
Galoop,
Galoop or whatever.
Denis Lavant,
Galoop,
the character.
Like the
Denis,
movie is really
Lavant.
about him, and
It
he's the most hot, like dirty, ugly, hot guy I've ever seen in my life.
older hot
like
dude.
We have the clip. We've had the clip.
Okay, this is
The
like
the clip is going.
we've generated
Clip
4 clips
continues.
off this one episode alone. It's crazy.
but is he or is he not fascinating? He's completely fascinating. Like you
Yeah.
can't take your
No,
eyes
but
off his face, off his
face
body.
has got character, unlike the kids who are just like really smooth-faced kids.
Yeah.
You can see he's been around and seen things.
Oh, dude, this guy's weathered, but
So,
also his
yeah.
body is sick. Like, what the fuck is going on? This is such an interesting character, such an interesting movie. Anyway, but the dance at the end to the worst song you've ever heard in your life, but
Rhythm of the
yet,
Night.
It's just Europop.
It's Europop.
yeah, it's Europop trash,
Yeah.
but yet it's
That's like
transformative. It's transformative. What he does is because what Chris said, it's transformative that he busts out of the whole movie. He's just like John said too. He's just staring. He's
He
just
has no
staring.
affect.
He's talking. And then suddenly he dances like he is on fire,
Yeah.
literally, and it is so good. It's just a perfect ending.
I like the ending. I prefer to think that it's how he's now completely busted out of his repressed old.
Or maybe he is dead, and that dance is his
That's
afterlife.
Twin Peaks ending. Yes, that's
Yeah.
the thing, right? By the way,
Sheila said when he started that dance, the way he was sort of just posing before he really started dancing,
Yeah.
like this guy is so full of himself. But it's like, yeah, he totally is, and that's kind of right for this film.
Plus, she
And also-
shot-
also
they
I read-
did
or-
2 takes of it.
Yeah,
He shot
Jim.
what?
And Jim, you
They
might know this.
shot it, they did 2 takes. He did the first take, which was sort of him just dancing crazy, and then the thing with him rolling around was the second take.
Okay.
He just went outside and walked around for a while, and then came back.
And
in.
I think that because
did
I just
that?
read that the cinematographer, who was a woman, also Jim, and you can confirm this, but I read that they didn't know what he was going to do in terms of the dance, though. They just
No,
like
she
shot.
just said
She just
dance.
like framed up, and like Claire was like,
Okay,
go.
dude, go.
Yeah, and he was like, okay, like
I
the
got
actor.
it. I totally got that. I felt
Yeah,
that.
the actor was like, I'm just gonna do something.
Well,
Like,
it's supposed to
I'm
be-
gonna.
if it's really
know.
supposed to be the middle of the film, it makes sense. You know what I mean? But that's the thing. It's an editorial decision we're putting at the end.
No, I think at the end is the right. I think that's why it's
alone.
there. It's the right decision.
No, I'm not going to argue that.
He
It's
is
actually
alone in that space in a way that he was not alone when there was a club full of people.
true.
Right,
Good
right.
point. Good
Exactly.
Point, Chris.
Yeah,
Exactly right, Chris.
And that's why it feels
This is
like an
him.
afterlife or
But they
some
go
kind of.
back to
With
that
little
club
blinking
several
lights, and you can
times.
also hear like this song "In Heaven, Everything Is Great." You know, whatever that.
And then, they go back to the club several times because the
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
differently, and she
Yep.
wears at least 3 different outfits.
Yep.
When they're in the club.
Yep.
Mhm.
And there's such great shots of that fucking mirror that has all the cross hatching
Right.
with all the dancers and the lights. It's just so beautiful. This whole movie, you could literally pause it at any moment and take a frame, and it's like a painting.
Easy to get
Right.
screen grabs. I'll
Yeah.
say that.
It's no place I ever want to visit, but it's a beautiful looking place.
Djibouti? Yeah.
I'm sure I'd like curl up and die within 5 minutes going walking out
I was
there.
trying to imagine what that's.
The landscape, it just looks like a place you could die.
Yes, exactly.
I mean,
Everything
when they turned over that dude who'd been out there, I thought he was dead. I mean, that acting was so
uh-huh.
good.
Imagine what that salt would do to your skin.
He was
Oh,
he was this close. And he drank out of that lake. It was
Oh, good thing he was
no,
only
drink out of the-
25, dude. He
Uh,
can withstand anything.
True. This guy, 25-year-olds can withstand anything.
Hmm.
Which is one of the other themes in this film is actually such you
Youth.
25-year-olds can do anything. It's
Right.
like it's nuts.
But
All right,
also
wait,
like Anyway,
Yeah,
look at
they
like
make
the
it-
little anyway, whatever, like the little booty shorts that everyone always had on too, like when they brought the cake out.
Oh yeah,
This
yeah.
there's so many thighs in this movie, dude. Oh my God.
It's absolutely
Like
French
this
style,
is like
French
again,
fries.
don't ever tell me
Nonsense.
male gaze. This is fucking male
Also,
gaze, female gaze. It's all
Also, there's a
interchangeable.
subtle bit in the beginning where they're doing the close-ups of all the guys in the unit, and it's like you can tell Arab, Indian, like
Yeah.
that.
was
There's
African.
Oh,
African,
I'm-
and one
I'm-
you saw this German in there. You could tell because he had the haircut.
Oh
right?
yeah.
It's like,
Oh yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
you know, it's like,
Scott, I'm glad you brought that up because that shot where it was just straight cuts, hard
Yeah,
cuts of faces.
yeah,
It made me think of Joan of Arc, the dryer.
Ryan,
right, yeah,
the
okay.
dryer.
Yeah.
Which is on my short list.
I know it's like that would only work in black and white. It was
Ryan.
like, nope, it's in color and it totally works.
It works
Yeah, it
great.
totally
yeah,
works.
does.
It's so sculptural. It's so
Well,
beautiful.
and if you have a face that's interesting, dude, oh my God.
Also,
Yeah.
but the thing is that they're all the same. They're shaved head, a shirtless kind of thing, but they're all different, and you get
They're
to
all
They're all
experience that.
different.
so
The Foreign Legion's about how people have very different people from different parts of the world.
And I really did
Stuff.
love all the laundry shit. I just
Yeah,
did.
okay, me too. The ironing was interesting.
So much ironing, so much
So
hanging.
much
Yeah.
ironing.
There's
I
like a
was
whole
thinking
scene
of
where he's
Eric,
talking about the
again. I was thinking of Eric Chipchase and his pleats.
like
Yeah.
there's a whole scene where they're talking about the socks or whatever.
Yeah.
He's like, is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, no, yeah, put the socks up.
I don't know what the number is, but Eric is of the opinion that there's a certain number of pleats that should be in a white cotton shirt.
And we saw them all a couple weeks ago. All right, anything else?
yeah, they didn't have much time to shoot in Djibouti, and so for like a couple of weeks before they left France, the choreographer, who was a French dance guy, got them all together, and they were doing a bunch of stuff that was basically based on some calisthenic routines that Legionnaires actually do. And then and it's interesting because the guy who plays Galou, he arrived, he was in a play, so he didn't do any of that previous stuff, and he didn't show up until like the day they started shooting in Djibouti. And
Wow.
so it helped like isolate his character from the rest of the actors because they all sort of knew each other by
Yeah.
that point.
He's
They did
also
that-
the
they-
guy. He's also the star of Holy Motors. If you guys ever
Also,
Yeah,
they did that. They did
Yeah.
that trick in Private Ryan. The Private Ryan actually trained separately from the rest of the cast, so
Yes.
they all got together during the last scenes. Like no one knew who he really was in terms of like what he could do. It's very
Also,
interesting.
Matt fucking Damon.
the guy who
Yeah.
plays the major,
Damon.
under the same name, plays a character in a 1963 movie that Godard made called The Little Soldier.
Oh wow,
His character name is the same.
Yes,
Bruno Forestier.
and it's
Oh,
same
the
actor.
the sergeant or the guy in charge. Yeah.
So this is a
Italian-
sequel. This is a
Kind of like
sequel.
it's part of the same universe, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, that's it. Let's go to the cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to give it a thumbs up.
Hey, same here, man.
And like I said, I came
A
to this.
little dull, but pretty good, man.
I
I
came
thought
to
about
this
it a lot
hating a
after-
different Claire Denis movie, and I like this movie a lot.
Yeah.